thank Allah, the sublime and glorious, the generous and kind, the merciful, the forgiving, the one who protects us and guides us, the one who helps us to refine those characteristics that He loves in the believers by giving us tests and giving us blessings at the same time, which indeed themselves tests as well. We praise Allah when we begin Al-Fatiha. In the very beginning, we praise Allah and we thank Him. We ask Allah to give us a life of praising Him and thank Him. He addresses the humankind, the human family. When He Ta'ala says, Ya ayuhan nas udhkuru ni'matallahi alaykum. Hal min khaliqin ghayra Allah yarzuqukum min as-sama'i wal ard. La ilaha illa huwa fa anna tufakun. And this is everybody Allah Azza wa Jalla is addressing in this verse. O humankind, remember the ni'mah of Allah. And further in Fatiha, after saying praise to Allah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put His blessings on us by putting us on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, the path of those upon whom He has given special blessings. In this verse, He's talking about general blessings for everybody. Remember the grace, the ni'mah of Allah upon you. Is there any creator other than Allah who provides for you from the sky and the earth? There's none besides Him. So how is it that you then turn away and not believe in and obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? In every rak'ah we make, we say, Iyyaka na'budu. That only Allah, it is only Him that we worship. Wa iyyaka nasta'een. Got to declare an innocence from shirk, associating anything with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of obedience, love, devotion, reliance, in the form of worship. That all of that is directed for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the way that it should be directed to Him and not anybody or anything else. And the second part of that, Iyyaka nasta'een, that part of the verse is that we do not acknowledge or seek help from any other power, so-called power or strength or source, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Recognize that in all affairs, everything goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for decision. As He says, وَلِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلِلَّهِ تُرْجَعُ الْأُمُورِ. That to Allah belongs everything, the entire creation, in the heavens and the earth. And all matters go back to Allah for decision. And we're pleased with whatever decision Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes in our lives. There's no absolutely uncontestable power or authority that exists. There's no irresistibly compelling power in existence except the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Aziz, Al-Jabbar, Al-Wahid, Al-Qahhar. The companion Qatada said that this verse, the part in Fatiha, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een, it is actually a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we be sincere in our worship. That we only worship Him and Him alone. And we only seek His aid and His assistance in doing so, and in all of our affairs. Ibn Abbas, reports a hadith when he was with the Messenger ﷺ one day, hadith in Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, كنت خلف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يوما فقال يا غلام أعلمك كلمات احفظ الله يحفظك احفظ الله تجده تجاهك إذا سألت فاسأل الله إذا استعنت فاستعن بالله واعلم أن الأمة لو اجتمعت على أن يضروك بشيء أن ينفعوك بشيء لم ينفعوك إلا بشيء قد كتبه الله لك وإن اجتمعوا على أن يضروك بشيء لم يضروك إلا بشيء قد كتبه الله عليك رفعت الأقلام وجفت الصفوف. Abu Abbas and Ibn Abbas, he said, one day I was behind the Messenger ﷺ on his mount. And he said, young man, I shall teach you some words of advice. Be mindful of Allah, and Allah will protect you. Be mindful of Allah, and you'll find the protection of Allah and His guidance in front of you, leading you, that is. If you ask of anything, ask of Allah. And if you seek help, then seek help from Allah. Know that if the nation were to gather together to benefit you, they would not benefit you except with something that Allah has already written for you. And if they gather together to harm you, they will never harm you with anything except that which Allah Azza wa Jalla has already written would happen to you. And we have to understand that Allah has absolute knowledge of everything that would happen. And it has to happen according to His knowledge. But our deeds, we are responsible for them. We choose to do what we do. Allah does not force us to do the things we do. Otherwise, why should He reward us or punish us if we have no choice? But we choose. And our choices will not be contrary to what Allah Azza wa Jalla knows we will choose. Nothing will happen except according to what He knows, and what He knows has been documented in a way that Allah knows best. If they came to harm you with something, they will not harm you with anything except that which has already been written will come. And Allah does not test the servant with anything more than what we can handle. So if it's anything that happens, if we think we can't handle it, Allah is never wrong. We can. We just have to figure out how is it that we have to handle that thing. What do we need to do to handle this particular thing? And it's usually something within ourselves that needs to be refined and improved upon, or something that we're giving ourselves and our energies to and our thoughts to that we shouldn't. And Allah help us. The pens have been lifted and the pages have dried. The Tirmidhi said this is a sound in Sahih Hadith. And another narration other than that of the Tirmidhi, it says, be mindful of Allah. You will find Him in front of you. Recognize and know Allah in times of ease and prosperity. And Allah will recognize and know you, that is, in where you would like to be, in your times of adversity. Know that what has passed you was not going to befall you, and what befell you was not going to pass you. Know that victory follows patience, relief follows affliction, and ease follows hardship. In the context of that hadith, Allah tells the believers to say, لَنْ يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَسَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا وَمَوْلَانَا وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Say, and this is to those people in Mecca who are always trying to orchestrate being aware of any hardship or difficulty that happened to the believers so they could celebrate that openly in front of them. And poke fun at them, where's your Lord now, that type of thing. But alhamdulillah, Allah tells them, say, nothing will happen to us except what Allah has already written. He is our Mawla, our Master, our Provider, and Protector. And the believer then, in the Allah then, let the believers put their trust. So when we say, Yaka na'budu wa yaka nasta'een, declaring in the first part our sincere worship for Allah, and then seeking His help, and helping us to manifest that in our deeds, and to reach that objective. The hadith of Muslim, rahimahullah ta'ala, from Abu Hurairah, radiallahu ta'ala, the Messenger alayhi sallam said, when the servant says this verse, Iyaka na'budu, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, Ala bayna wa bayna abdi, wa li abdi ma sa'al. That this is between me and my servant. That my servant is saying they worship me and me alone. He said, this is between me and my servant. And my servant shall have this request. SubhanAllah. And Allah gives us that victory, inshallah. When the servant says, Ihdina siratal mustaqim, siratal ladina an'amta alayhim, ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin, guide us to the grace and the ni'mah of being on the straight path. The path of those on whom you have bestowed your grace, not that of those who have earned your anger, not those who go astray. When we say this, Allah Azza wa Jalla, according to our hadith, says, Hada li'abdi wa li'abdi ma sa'al. That this is for my servant, that she will be guided to that straight path, the path of those who receive my special blessings. That my servant shall have this request. Shaykh Abu Fadad and Ismail ibn Taqiyya says that Allah is telling us that what we are doing is asking Him to make us firm on this Siratal Mustaqim. We say Muslims will be guided to the Siratal Mustaqim. It's not just being guided to the Sirat, we're asking Allah to keep us firm on this Siratal Mustaqim, so that we don't die except in the state of Islam. That He not allow us to deviate from this path, from the trappings of the dunya. We ask Him to be firm and to be continuous in performing the good deeds that make us firm on this path and will make us firm on the path over the hellfire on the day of judgment. There have been so many people before us who, after being granted the grace of guidance, subhanAllah, and abandoned it and died in a state of disbelief, while others who haven't lived a life of misguidance and error have found guidance just a breath or two before they die, their death. A person said to me one day, Brother Mateen, I see you fasting. I'm fasting too, fast as I can get it. Stuff of the law. So I see him every day looking at obituaries. So I'm asking him, are you putting hits on people or something? But there had been a terrible murder, slaughter at some people's house that he knew and I knew. So I'm wondering, is he, are you involved in this type of thing? Brother, I'm looking for some flowers. I said, excuse me? You looking for what? Looking for some flowers. The old boy been out of town, go see his wife tonight. He used to be Muslim. He said, I used to be Muslim. What kind of Muslim is that? You go in and get a dead person flowers to take some of his wife. So how low can you go? How low can you go? And laughing about it. SubhanAllah. So what protects us from being like that? What's in our heart and what goes in our minds. There's no protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hadith again, Nabdullah. وَحَدَّثَنَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَهُوَ صَادِقٌ مَصْدُوقٌ فَوَاللَّهِ إِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ أَوْ رَجُلٌ يَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ حَتَّى لَا يَكُونَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهَا إِلَّا ذِرَاعٌ أَوْ بَاعٌ وَيَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابُ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ فَيَدْخُلُهَا وَإِنَّ الرَّجُلَ يَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ حتى لا يكون بينه وبينها إلا باع أو ذراع فيسبق عليه الكتاب فيعمل بعمل أهل النار فيدخلها. Hadith Abdullah is the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, and he is the one who is truthful and truly inspired. He said, by Allah, a person among you may do the deeds of the people of the hellfire until there's just a short space between that person in the hellfire and he will start to do the deeds of the people of the paradise and go into the paradise. Allah says, you will come to Malai, Shifratim in Nara, that you were on the brink of the hellfire, but he brought you into this deen, subhanAllah. And that applies to so many of us. So that person who was headed to the hellfire does the deeds of the people of paradise and they go into the paradise. And any one of you could do the deeds, he's talking to his companions. Any one of you could do the deeds of the people of paradise, that there's nothing between that person and the paradise except a short span, and they do the deeds of the people of the hellfire and go into the hellfire. Such as the hadith of the person that everybody was saying he was in Ahl Jannah. They were on the battlefield. The person was fighting very bravely. There was not an intense battle except they went straight to that spot where that battle was taking place. The woman Ahl Jannah. They said he's a person from the people of the Jannah. And Prophet would say, oh, none. So he's sitting on one side, he's sitting on a different side. He said, oh, the fire. They keep talking, they say he'd have shahada, he'd have his martyrdom, and he'll go to the paradise. Prophet said, oh, no, or the fire. 3 times this happened. So they don't know how to really comprehend that, but they start watching this man a little closer. He was wounded the next day, and that night he rolled over on his sword and killed himself. Couldn't be patient with suffering pain. SubhanAllah. And the Prophet said, Allah, the youngster from Allah had a deen, well, kind of goes in fasted or fasted. He said, Allah will help this deen even with a person who is a deviant. A fasted or fasted. They will be fighting for Islam, but in their hearts will not be in Islam whatsoever. So we say the prayer that comes from Allah's book, Al-Imran, ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. The firm in faith say, our Lord, let not our hearts deviate from the grace, your ni'mah, of haqq, of truth. Let not our hearts deviate after you have guided us and grant us mercy from you. Truly, you are the bestower. So he reminds us of the grace of being on the Sirat al-Mustaqim and the promise of remaining firm upon it as a ni'mah from him, almost as many other ni'mah that we see from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That it said, وَمَا بِكُمْ مِنْ نِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ وَيَعْفُ. Whatever blessing, whatever grace, whatever ni'mah you have, it is from Allah. And Allah says He forgives much. When He said Ya'fu, He didn't say Yaghfiru. Yaghfiru is forgive. Ya'fu is forgive and make it like it never even happened. He will treat it as though it never even happened. So Allah says He does that for us for so many things that He forgives us for it and completely obliterates it from our records. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. I say the things that confess Allah and you alone. May Allah forgive and forgive all Muslims our sins. Ask for Allah for forgiveness. So Allah is forgiving Allah's mercy. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Allah releasing the Quran, mashallah, a very beautiful series of verses. الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وأنزل من السماء ماء فأخرج به من الثمرات رزقا لكم وسخر لكم الفلك لتجري في البحر بأمره وسخر لكم الأنهار وسخر لكم الشمس والقمر دائبين وسخر لكم الليل والنهار وأتاكم من كل ما سألتموه وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها إن الإنسان لظلوم كفار. سبحان Allah. And it is Allah who has created the heavens and the earth. He sends down water from the sky and thereby brings forth fruits as provision for you. He has made the ships to be of service to you, that they may sail through the sea by His command. And He has made rivers to be of service to you. He has made the sun and the moon both constantly pursuing their courses to be of service to you. And has made the night and the day to be of service to you. And He gives you of all that you ask, and much that you don't ask. And if you seek to count the blessings of Allah, never will you be able to do so. Verily, the human being is indeed an extreme wrongdoer and ungrateful. Muslim records the hadith of Abu Hurairah that the Prophet said, إن الله يرضى لكم ثلاثا ويسخط لكم ثلاثا. يرضى لكم إن تعبدوه ولا تشركوا به شيئا وإن تعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا وإن تنازعوا من والله الله أمركم. يسخط لكم ثلاثا قيل وقال وكثرة السؤال وضاعة المال. It pleases Allah for you to acquire three qualities, and displeases Him that you acquire three characteristics. It pleases Allah that you worship Him alone and not associate anything with Him, and that you hold on to the rope of Allah altogether, the entire rope, the entire community. Every bit of Islam, you hold on to it, and every one of us. You do not divide yourselves, and that you advise whoever Allah appoints for you as your leader. The three things that displease Allah that you say, I heard, it is said, so-and-so told me, or somebody said, that type of talking. That's the worst thing, one of the worst things Allah dislikes. And then asking many unnecessary questions. The Prophet said that is one of the things that destroyed the people before us, is asking so many questions of their prophets and messengers and their leaders. And that the worst person are those who continue to ask about something that's not made prohibited until it becomes prohibited, or something that's not mandatory until it becomes mandatory. It's to leave it alone, as Allah has left it. And also, exalted, that is being a sibling of Shaytaan by being wasteful and squandering your resources. ولا تبدلوا تبديلا إنهم مبدلين كانوا يخوان الشياطين وكان الشيطان ربي كفورا. And do not squander and be wasteful, because those who do so are brothers and sisters of Shaytaan. And Shaytaan is ever ungrateful. And that's the characteristic that links the person to the Shaytaan, looking just like him as being ungrateful. May Allah make us grateful. Nabiyyuna Dawood alayhi salam said, Allah, علمني كلمات أعبدك بها. Allah, teach me something I can worship you with. Ya Dawood, qul la ilaha illallah. Dawood said la ilaha illallah. He said the whole creation is a statement of la ilaha illallah. It's a unit verse. One verse that says la ilaha illallah. I want something special. So ya Dawood. He said, how can I thank you enough for your blessings, when my thanking you itself is a blessing from you? So Allah said, okay, now you recognize how to thank me adequately, that you can't do enough to thank me. So he said, Allah, show me some of the most conspicuous of your blessings. He said, Ya Dawood tanafas. He said, breathe out, take a breath. He took a breath. He said, who will count this breath, these breaths in a 24-hour period? One day and one night, count the breaths, each one being a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you say it and know that it's a borrowed breath, you have to pay it back right away, and we don't know how many breaths in that account. So we take that breath, it could be the last one we let go. We may not take another. And we have to ask ourselves, what are we putting into these breaths on a daily basis? What are we using that breath for in terms of worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? May Allah make us thankful, inshallah. There's a companion, Khabab ibn al-Araj, who said, I was a blacksmith. And Anas bin Wa'il had a debt that he owed me, so I went to see him and asked for my debt. So he said, no, wallahi, I'm not going to pay you until you disbelieve in Muhammad. So Khabab said, no, wallahi, even if until the day of resurrection you have obeyed me, I will not dispraise the Prophet alayhi salatu. So this person doesn't believe in the resurrection. He said, if I die, and if I'm resurrected, and you come to me, I'll have so much wealth and so many connections, it'd be easy for me to pay you then. SubhanAllah. So Allah revealed, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ بِآيَاتِنَا وَقَالَ أُوتِيَنَّ مَالًا وَوَلَدًا أَطَّلِعُ الْغَيْبَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ عِندَ الرَّحْمَنِ عَهْدًا كَلَّا سَنَكْتُبُ مَا يَقُولُ وَنَمُدُّ لَهُ مِنَ الْعَذَابِ مَدًّا وَنَرِثُهُ مَا يَقُولُ يَأْتِينَا فَرْدًا. SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. Do you see the one who has disbelieved in our ayat and said, I will certainly be given wealth and children if I'm resurrected? Does he not know does he know the unseen to such an extent that he can swear by it? Or has he taken a covenant, an agreement with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Most righteous. Allah says to the contrary, I will document what he says, this impotent claim and this kufr. I will document what he says, and I will increase his torment. And all what that man claimed, see where it goes now. Allah says, and I will inherit from him all of his worldly wealth, all of his family relations, in the entourage and everything that he speaks of. And he will come back to me all alone, barefoot, naked, with nothing, with his deeds. SubhanAllah. May Allah protect us from our own arrogance and ego and pride, of our own laziness and cowardliness and reluctance to do those things that will make us a better person and a better Muslim and a better community. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us firm on the Siratul Mustaqim and bring help to the Muslims all over the world against those who are hateful to Allah and His Messenger and to His Deen, and seeking to destroy and corrupt and distort His book and His Deen, and make us to be like the other people are guided to His Deen by inshallah, and make us firm on that until that which is ever and bearable comes to us to get and bring us back to Him, pleased with us and giving us that which pleases us inshallah. Salatu wasalam.